retriever. So I've been asked quite a few times now how I became a tree worker, and I figured it was about time that I tried to answer that question. It kind of requires a bit of background story, so get comfortable and I will try to explain how I ended up being a tree person. As you might have heard already in one of my Q&As, I used to be a photographer and I owned my own business. That's also why I'm taking so many photos, I guess. Old habits. But in the end of 2012, my life changed a bit because I found out I was pregnant. And shortly after, unfortunately, I also found out that my dad had cancer, and he was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, and he unfortunately passed away 3 months later before meeting my daughter. Then my life changed again in 2015 when I got pregnant again, and shortly after my mom was diagnosed with the same type of cancer that my dad had. And knowing the outcome, I kind of put my life on hold, tried to be there, be with my mom as much as possible, and my life just changed a lot. I had a son and spent a lot of my maternity leave with my mom as well, and taking care of him and her. When my maternity leave was over, in order to take care of my mom, I had to shut down my photography business, because in Denmark you're not allowed to receive money from the state if you own your own business. So I had to shut that down in order to be with her and spend time with her. And then when my mom passed away, I wanted to reopen my business, go back to normal. Not that it was normal at this time. But I then found out that you're not allowed to open or reopen a business within 6 months of receiving money from the state. So this was a low point in my life, not gonna lie. I had trouble getting out of bed. I just really didn't see much point in anything, and smiling was a very rare occasion. I tried to be a good mom for my kids, but it's really, really hard when you at the same time are dealing with the devastating pain of losing your parents. So I tried to find something else to do just to get out of the house, and by chance I found this education that sounded really nice and a lot like something I would enjoy, and it was called the Forest and Nature Technician. It's divided into 4 specialties, one being a forest worker, then you can become an arborist or a machine operator, and last you can become a forest and nature guide. And I'd always been really outdoorsy. Grew up in a family where we were hiking and biking everywhere. We didn't get a car until I was 14. So all of our vacations have been hiking, biking vacations. And while my parents were sick, we used therapy gardens, which helped a lot. And I have a big dream of creating a therapy garden myself. So I figured this education would be a great stepping point. And I wanted to be that forest and nature guide. So I applied and got in. And then on the very first day, I found out that education meant becoming a lumberjack. So the specialty of the guide thing was only like 14 days out of 3.5 years. But I figured I was there, I would give it a go. At this point, I'd never held a chainsaw in my life. Never felled a tree, never thought I would ever do that. And I couldn't start the chainsaw the first couple of days, and it really pissed me off. But now I can, so that's good. Well, this was December, and in Denmark that means wet and really cold. So my life changed from being lying on the couch all day to being out in the forest with a chainsaw in the rain, and I absolutely loved it from day one. It was so much fun, so many things you can learn, so many techniques, and I found myself feeling happiness again, in a way that I never thought I would. And every day I would just come home smiling, even though I was wet and cold, and some days had been almost just waiting all day. But just, I guess, being in the nature and using my body and learning all these things, it really just, I found my place, and it made me really, really happy. That's also why I started posting on social media, just to remind myself how far I'd come and that I could be happy again, and also just I had to share my joy of the trade. So I worked as a forest worker during that part of my education, and then I had to find an apprenticeship, and I ended up finding this guy who was an arborist, and he asked me if I would be willing to try climbing. At this point I'd never climbed a tree. Well, I did when I was a kid, but that was a long time ago. So I figured I'd give it a go. I kind of live my life day by day, just because you never know what will happen. And I figured, why not try climbing trees? So now I changed my specialty yet again from the nature guide thing to forest worker, and then to arborist. And I started climbing in March 2019. Absolutely love it. Think it's great being in the treetops, and once more, it's a job where, well, the days are never the same, and you continue learning every day, and use your body, and I just love it. So getting into tree work wasn't anything that I planned on. It wasn't anything that I was brought up to do. My dad did not use tools well. Sorry to say that. And well, although we were outdoorsy, we'd never been doing anything like that. So I don't have anybody in my family who does tree work. That's just me. But I love it, and I recommend it for everybody, and I hope that all of you are feeling the same joy as I am when working with trees. And I also hope that this kind of gave you an idea of how I ended up here, and maybe it will explain some of my choices as well. I hope this kind of gave you an answer as to how I ended up here being a tree girl, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So this is just very informational, but yeah, if you've got any other questions, or if I didn't reply good enough, thoroughly enough, just ask me again. You can leave a comment, and or you can find me on Instagram at Femalelumberjack, and I'll gladly answer your questions there. See you soon.